Hey, hello and good morning, everyone. Apologize if I'm a little hoarse today. I finally got my dose of COVID after I don't know how many years it's been. This is my first time with it, and don't recommend. We'll leave it at that. So, anyway, apologize for a little bit of the sound here, but I'll move forward on this. So, all right, this is a webinar series we actually started last month, identifying or actually updating everyone on projects in O4. That was last month, and Trinity, I'll let you deal with all the audio there. And if there's any questions, just yell at me too. So this month in October, actually today, October 10th, I renamed the area. Originally, we are going to do some project tiles, but this plan was actually before we kind of had everything settled out. But monitor tiles, I'll get into what those are and what they mean here real quickly. Then November, we're going to do orders. Basically, orders in O4 is in beta right now, and we'll go over a little bit more what's going on there. And then December 11th, we'll have some other exciting new tiles, and that's all I can say. So that's all I'm allowed to say right now. But stay tuned for that one. So let's get a little deeper into this. So today will be the quote monitor tile. And the thought here, this is actually something that I had a customer of ours asked for about 15 plus years ago. And the whole thing is just run through the quotes looking for problems. Same thing for orders, order monitor tile. It's running through all the orders and trying to find problems. And that's the key element here, is to have the system identify potential issues and expose those to you so you can go, okay, yeah, that's not an issue, or engage with the manufacturer, customer, or whomever to resolve issues. The status of both these are in beta right now. Actually, the quote monitor tile has been in beta for a while now. It's anytime you have something new, you really have to get a good amount of feedback, and the agents that were helping us test that out really found some things, and we made a pretty significant change back in August. So I reset the timer on that one. And we like about 6 months on this stuff before we'll call it prod. But anyway, both these are in beta right now. September was actually when we started the counter on the order monitor tile, so it is fairly new, but we've already gotten some fairly good feedback on it. Quoters and outside sales is where the quote monitor tile, I believe, will hit the most, especially with quoters. And then project manager and customer service obviously deal with order issues. And they have another quote and order tile. Can't talk anything about them, so we'll move on for today. All right, the quote monitor tile. We'll get into this. The goal is to identify a list of active quotes is the best way to explain it. And this is probably one of the hardest things about coming up with a monitor tile, is identifying what's active. If a quoter goes in and puts a quote or a project in the system, you probably don't care too much about it. Yeah, you want to get the business if there's something associated with it, but there's not a whole lot done. The key is, has that quote actually been sent to a customer out there? And if that has happened, that activates this quote in this list to be monitored. Obviously, if you get an order, it's off the list. And there's some other little tricks in there, but for today, basically the quote has been sent to one or more customers and is not is in the quoted state. I don't know how I did that. And it basically has not expired. So it should be in the quoted state. So I read this a bazillion times and missed that one. All right. If terms of the quote change, and we'll get into what that means here in a second, we want to notify the quoter or whoever is monitoring the monitor tile that something is issue, that there's an issue. Identify, provide the user with an issue. We'll talk about that here in a minute, and optionally send an email to somebody saying, "Hey, all that big quote you sent out 2 weeks ago, they just discontinued half the product on there." You'd probably like to know that. So anyway, that's what we're talking about here, those types of issues. Okay. All right, and I'll start digging into the setup of this tile, and I'll keep a little bit of a fast pace until I get a little bit deeper into some of this. But at any time, if you have questions, post those to Trinity. She's there monitoring, and she knows how to yell at me to stop me to answer any questions there. Okay, so I wanted to stop here real quick and actually flip between the system and the documentation here, just so you can get a little bit of a what does it look like as we go forward on this. So let me bring up my little web browser. This is all in Oasis O4, by the way. And we have our quote monitor, or monitor all quotes is what I call this one. And that's what it looks like. We'll get into this here in a second. But real quick, I'm talking about the setup here. So let's go in and edit the quote monitor tile. And it's like all the other tiles. If you played in Oasis 04, setting up a tile, the first part is who's going to see the tile. In other words, who's going to see the information coming back to it. And then one thing that we're doing on all the new tiles is asking the question, who should we notify through email? And then that starts a whole nother conversation as it was it look like when they receive the email, when they click on something. We'll get into that a little bit today as well. But the main thing is I do want to receive the email. Unfortunately, I don't have one to show you today because I didn't get that set up. I apologize. But that's really the first step. And that's what I'm going to talk about here on the slide here is who's responsible for correcting the issue. That's who you want to be in that list of people in this tile. And then whether or not they would like to get an email. So let's go back here for a second. And then we have this thing called data sources. I consider these kind of issue creators, but we have this standard in our tiles we call the data source there. But each one of these are issue creators. So it's pretty much the same thing here as in the actual tile setup. So I'm going to stay over here and talk through each one of these, and then I'm going to show you examples here in a minute. Okay, so check pricing. It uses the standard Oasis price lookup as it scans your quote at the line level. And if it detects that you have like a sell price that's below what you're authorized to sell that item, then it will basically issue that and put it on your list of quotes to review. If it's the first time that that happens, it'll also send that as part of an email saying, hey, you just have a quote that just appeared on the issue list. So you don't have a big long email is what we're trying to do there. You need to go take a look at. Where this seems to make the most sense is if you have a lot of, well, not a lot of, hopefully it's not a lot, but when there are price increases at some point along the way, you really need to identify whether or not that quote you just sent out 2 weeks ago is now okay for the price increase that the factory has in play. The main thing is to let you know that something's going on there. But it does use the integrations. So if you have electronic connectivity back to the factory to get pricing, it will use that connectivity to refresh the pricing in Oasis as it checks your quote. So anyway, that's checking the pricing. If you check that, you'll go through that. There are a lot of other details in here, including the discontinued items, but we separated this out because it seemed like check pricing may generate a little more noise than some people would like. So we wanted the discontinued items to be separate from that. And the thought process there is if we have discontinued items pop up separate from there, then more people might use this concept. Again, with pricing might potentially be a little noisy for some folks. Okay, so discontinued items, again, if you have a feed or if you're updating the price list inside of Oasis, and you keep that current, all it is a substitution note if you're doing that by hand. And it again will scan your quotes and identify, hey, that item you have on your quote is discontinued and go forward. Trinity, do we have any questions or comments?
Not yet.
Okay, cool. I'll keep moving. All right, expiring quotes. The other thing you can do, a little bit of a hint for the future here, but one thing you can do with this tile is let it tell you that, hey, this quote you sent out 60 days ago or 90 days ago, whatever your expiration date window is by default in your system. You can set that up, by the way. It'll let you know with 1 week, hey, that quote you sent out to CED 43 days ago, whatever it is, probably more than 53 days ago, it's about to expire. So you might want to contact Bob or whoever it is at CED and find out if there's a go or whatever. So more on that as we get deeper into it. And then manufacturer quote issues. Most people don't realize this, but each time you apply a manufacturer quote in Oasis, you can also identify the expiration date. This happens automatically if you have integration with the factory, but at the line level, it says, okay, the quote from factory is 123. The expiration date is August 7th of 23. And if that's on your quote today and the quote is still active, it'll send you an email saying, hey, your quote is expired. You probably need to go to the factory and get a new one, especially if you get an order on this thing, or at least resolve that issue. Okay. The last one I'll talk a little bit deeper into, and I'll show you examples on these. So just trying to go through these explanations first, or explainers first. The patch shipping issues. So if you have been placing shipping information in Oasis all this time, Oasis is generating through this system we call PAT. It's just our AI technology, for lack of a better way of explaining it. It will identify statistically and some other fancy things in there how long it'll take for an item to ship. And what the system does, if you check this, is it runs through your quotes and says, if you were to get the order today, could you actually ship it by what we call shoot, did I put those in there? Start date, the project start date. So you have to fill in this project start date, and that is on the general tab of the project in Oasis 04 and Legacy. So regardless which system you're in, when you put the project in, fill in the start date and make sure you're putting in shipping information on the orders. And this will, you can check that box basically and it'll scan. Yeah, it seems to work pretty good for some folks. We're just now really trying to kick the tires on this one. But again, if you have that important project and you're trying to make sure that you don't have any issues, it'll scan and say, hey, you might have an issue here. So anyway, we're on that. I'll show you an example of that here in a minute. All right. So let's go take a look again here. These are basically those check boxes. And again, through the documentation, you can get a little deeper into that, but I want to give you a little bit of an overview on those and some explainers, if you will, and we can dig deeper as necessary. Okay. The next part of the setup, again, that's really what I'm going through here is the setup of the tile. Is first of all, it's already restricted to basically the quotes with at least one customer sent. You have to actually email it out or whatever to the customer. Print the PDF. That's valid as well. Once you do that, it activates that quote, and as long as it hasn't hit the expiration date and is not ordered, lost, or abandoned, basically, anything would take it off the quoted list, then it's active. Okay. Now you can also filter it down by quoter. And our thought on this, I haven't got a whole lot of feedback on this part yet, but our thought on having a quoter, let me show you what that looks like real quick. If I put in a quoter's name here or a work group name, there's really a couple of thoughts that are happening here. One of them is with the quoters, it seems like some quoters like these new tools and they're on them. That's the best way to explain it. They just give me, and because they're trying to figure out how to make their lives a little more easy, if you will. And others like, nah, I got my system. I'm good with it. Don't worry about it. At the same time, we also have with work groups, more and more of the reps in particular, but even in distribution, there's multiple offices out there. And what we find is some offices want to adopt stuff like this and others don't. So it allows you to basically filter this down to only those quotes issued through that office, if you will, inside that work group, basically. And also quote values, we're finding more and more of this as well. And the valuation on the quote may change. So you may want to have a either threshold above or below that you want to start sending yourself emails on this. Again, if it's below $10,000, you're probably like, yeah, I don't care, or whatever. So again, trying to filter back to where you may actually want to use this concept. Okay, that is the setup. Any questions? Otherwise, we're going to dig into some examples. Sound like no questions, Trinity.
No, none so far.
Perfect. All right. Just thought I'd give a good pause there. All right. So when the tile is set up, you see something like this. It shows the number of, again, this is a test database. There's not a whole lot in here. Normally, this is a big number. So scan X number of quotes. Okay. And what it's showing is one quote, fine. Again, I primed this for this meeting. So I had to put one in there that went green, was okay. But then I have three quotes that are what we call warning. And we just arbitrarily selected between warning and error, if you will. The main thing is we want to split them out a little bit. These tend to be more of the pad or yeah, I'll get into details here. These tend to be the issues that aren't real big. But if something's discontinued, you probably want to know about that. That is an issue you need to resolve. If you have a quote out there and you have discontinued items on there, you may know about it and worked out a deal with the factory. That's one thing. But if it takes you by surprise, you probably consider that a critical issue. So it's red. So I'll click into it and show you the examples here and a little bit of the layout. And I'll probably spend more time here because I think it works better than on the details here. Anyway, I'm kind of going through the what the tile looks like and then some of the details here. So I'll stay in the system. What you see on the summary is basically down the left-hand side, you see the count of each one of these. Sorry. Open. You see the issues down the side here in account. It gives you just a little bit of a metric here on issues, and it may help you adjust things. Also across the top are each one of the little check boxes. If you want the little data sources are across the top. Now, each one of these data sources, we keep updating and changing based on feedback. So you may see an issue that doesn't exactly match one of these titles. A good example is bad price. Well, that's check pricing, and through bad price, you might see bad prices and other things. I can't remember all the details there, but they're all within that group, if you will. So it's not uncommon to see that. You can click on the bad price to see the quote, or let's go back here real quick, or you can say, click on check pricing, and you'll see again the bad price. It's all the same thing. Okay. It just gives you different ways of looking at the same thing. All right. So let's dig into the bad price. So if I click into bad price, it shows that I have this quote example pricing. By the way, if I click on that, I open the quote. Let's see, I think it's this one. But if I click on that, I see the details. So best way to explain this is when you're inside these listings, again, this is I apologize for a very basic listing with just one quote here, but you may have 4 or 5 or 20 or whatever quotes for the bad pricing. There's two links, if you will. The first link actually goes into the tile and gives you more detail on what it discovered as being an issue. And what it thinks is an issue is the quote example pricing, this thing right here, type A. There may be 50 different types on this quote. It found one of them where the cell was below the limit, and it says what the limit is, in this case, $20. You can click here, or you can click on the quote number here, either one of them, it doesn't matter. It will open the project in 04, and there you have it. I have a sell price for 19 that is below that $20, and that's my issue. So again, this is made up data, so who knows what's going on here other than me trying to show you what's going on. But again, if you had quoted this a few weeks ago and the price was $19, they did a price increase on you, and it's now 25 or 20 or whatever it is. It gives you a heads up, and you can go identify what you need to do about that. Maybe nothing, but again, the warning is there. Okay. A couple other examples here. Discontinued items. This one works pretty well, actually, as long as you get the data feed, or if you don't have a data feed from the factory, contact support or any of us, we can show you how to set up a price list in Oasis that has a catalog number. Substitution notes is the main thing. As a matter of fact, I know of at least one rep out there that said, hey, we have enough discontinued items that we want to just put in for this one factory they had, but they just put in the catalog number, discontinued item. That was their entire price list, just so they could find the ones that were issues out there. But if you click on it, it shows exactly the catalog number. I called this ABC Disco. This is the one that I discontinued. Please discontinue Disco. I remember the 70s. It sucked. Anyway, that is discontinued C product XYZ series. That is a note you can place in there on the substitution notes, and it just gets presented here. Again, if you click into the project, it'll show you the same thing. And even in a 04, if you give it here a second, yeah, there it is. It just takes a second for it to do the refresh and everything in the background, but it'll turn it red and do exactly the same thing Legacy Oasis does. Okay, so there you have it. Pricing based stuff, basically. And again, we separated the pure pricing stuff as, pricing low or missing commissions or whatever the case is, versus discontinued items, because that's a biggie right there, at least in my view. Okay, expiring manufacturer quote. This is the other one where you can actually put a date in there. I'll show you where that's at here in a second. At least I hope I got it all set up right. And it says manufacturer quote RV expired on October 1st, 2023. So, okay, expired a long time ago in year 23. Cool. It's definitely expired. So I didn't type very well. Main thing is now you know what's going on there. You can click in the quote, work with the factory or whatever, and go on. So hopefully, that's way back there. Click into the project, you see the same thing, and here's basically that date that I was hinting at there. Let's see if I can get it to stretch here. There we go. So yeah, let's fix that. Sorry, OCD kicking in on me right there. Oh, I got something messed up in there. All right, I'll mess with that later. Anyway, there you go. I got something messed up there. All right, the next item, expiring quote. So this one is another example. And again, the main people I've been talking to so far on this particular tile has been either managers or quoters, if you will. And really the whole concept there was to go through and find out how to follow up on projects on this one. So in this case, I have a project that is that I quoted a while back. In 3 days from now, it's going to expire. All I have to do is identify who I want to contact on this, say, hey, do we get the job or not? Or maybe just close the thing and move on. So Neat little option there. Okay, I suppose I just click on summary there. And then predicted shipping value. Okay, so this one I take just a minute on, and it looks like I do have enough time to talk this one through. The key here is inside of Oasis, if you have been placing shipping inside of on the orders inside of Oasis, like I said before, it'll start predicting things. And in this case, Pat on this, again, made up data here, so we put in a lot of test data on this. It was estimating based upon, the data we had in the system, and it does this through various statistics. And by the way, it does get down to the series level. That's another thing that a lot of folks probably aren't aware of is we do use some tech in there to identify that maybe Series A from a factory is a little bit different than Series B in how they're able to produce it and ship it, if you will. But on this particular item, it's identifying that we're going to ship it on November 1st, but I have a start date of October 13th on the job. And I'll do this in 04, but it looks different inside of Legacy, obviously. But if I go back to the General tab, there is a, where'd they put that here? Start date right there. So the planning part of this, the start date, that's all you have to place in. On Legacy, it's on the right-hand side. I'm more familiar with Legacy still, on the General tab. So that's where you have the details there. Okay. All right, that is, I think, most of it for the quote monitor tile. By the way, it does refresh every night. The email will only contain the new items. So if you have a new discontinued item, it'll notify you, hey, this quote here was discontinued. This will have all the items on there that are current issues, whether they're new ones or been around for a while, just giving you the ability to see everything it had done. Okay. One other item that's on the new tiles as we go forward is email sent. Now, my system's set up to not actually send the email, but it'll have the subject, it'll have who it was. Sorry, this test database, so I don't have my actual name in here. It'll say how it emailed it, and if there's an error, it'll say that there was an error on there. So again, if it looks like this, your emailer's been turned off like it is on this one. But again, contact support, and they can deal with that. But that'll be on anything that emails out going forward. We'll have that this last tab in here. Anybody that's doing the automated reports where you have a stored report and you're having it automatically send, that same tab is there as well. Okay. All right, that is the quote monitor tile. Now, the order monitor tile is very similar to the quote monitor tile, and we wanted to basically make them similar in thought, but there are some differences because orders are a little different. So the key element here is we want all orders that aren't basically any order is updated, really, is what it boils down to. So from a list of active orders, orders not canceled or closed, has recent shipping updates. Okay. A little bit of a misnomer here, actually, because we do actually take a look at canceled and closed orders in some of the data sources that I'll talk about here in a second. So there's a little bit of misnomer. Basically, if it's been updated, we're going to scan it, really. But different sources, and I'll get into this in a minute, we'll look at them a little bit differently. And there's a reason for that here in a minute. Okay. If terms of the orders change, someone is notified. Actually, that includes shipping. So if the shipping terms change, because the schedule date changed, we may notify you because something happened. We'll get to that in a minute. We're going to provide the issue to an Oasis user through a web page listing and optionally email them. So basically, again, very similar. So who's responsible for correcting the issue? And I'll do the same thing I did before. I'm going to bounce back and forth here in a second. Basically starting with the tiles, and I'll do an edit. And I haven't got a new icon for this one yet, so it still has one of the default ones. And we'll edit the tile here. And again, whoever you place up here is responsible for fixing the issues on the orders as they come in. And then if they want emails, you click that. That's how you assign responsibility. And then all these different data sources, we'll talk into that as basically I want to do that on the other side because it's I don't know, a little easier for me. Let's go over here. First of all, non-transmitted orders. I have some groups that have the one person that goes in and updates the order and doesn't print internal or whatever it is. that does affect people downstream as far as accounting, because OASIS won't allow you to apply invoices and things like that to orders that haven't been sent to the factory. So non-transmitted orders is one of them. We don't consider it a caution or anything like that, but we want you to be aware of what is open in OASIS so you can go identify what the issues are there. Okay. And then hold orders. It seemed like the groups that still do hold orders, this used to be a thing about 15, 20 years ago. There was a lot of them. And there's still markets where there's a fair amount of hold orders. But a lot of, especially the big manufacturers, they don't accept hold orders at all. And basically, every time you send them a release, it's effectively a new order, unless you have a quote, bite my tongue, and you know the issues as well as I do, probably better. But the main thing is, if you have a hold order, you can set a data source in there that says after 7 days, we're going to ping you with that email and put it on this list to say, what's going on here? So you can get it off stuck, if you will. And we do that because of just one set of issues that I'll skip for today, but really it seemed like a lot of folks needed that to basically start asking the question of from the factors like, hey, what happened? Or sorry, the customer, are we ready? Did we answer the question? Whatever it is, so we can get this thing released, if you will. Okay, hold orders with 1 week of required on site. There's some stuff coming, but right now we're using the required on site as one option of monitoring when that hold order needs to be released. So you can use the required on site on a hold order right now with this tile to trigger within 1 week that needs to be released. So if they're trying to get something done on the project and you need about a week lead time for it, this tile will pop you that note within 1 week of whatever date you have on the required on site inside of the order. That's on the general tab, by the way, and let you know what's going on there, okay? Or at least have you follow up on it. Okay, we're going to check pricing on hold orders because, again, a lot of these bigger, well, not just the big factories, but a lot of factories really don't even know the hold order or care. They just look at the release, and each release after price increase could be a difficult conversation. We'll leave it there. So we're going to check the pricing on there, and if it looks like what you have on the order is less than what you're authorized through the pricing somewhere, we're going to let you know about it. Discontinued items are separated out again because it'd be really difficult to say, hey, we have this hold order, everything's going fine. They discontinue the stuff you have on hold. That would suck. And I know people that happen to. Unscheduled orders and unshipped orders and misshipped shipping date orders. What I'll simply say on these is if you've been doing the unscheduled, unshipped, or misshipped date orders in Legacy OASIS, those are those 3 little blue links on the order screen over there, we now have a tile that can actually help you with that as well if you choose to do that in OASIS. Now, the order system in 04 is in beta, so go slow if you go down this route because that's still new. But as you can see, we're preparing for another way of managing unscheduled, unshipped, and missed shipping date orders. And what I like about this going forward is sometimes you end up with that one factory it's just hard to get information out of, and you don't really want to put in something just to appease the system. It will keep the unscheduled and unshipped order on that tile, okay, and we'll get into the examples here in a second, until you tell it it's good. But it'll send you emails for all the new ones. So that's kind of the nice part about this is through the email you can see the fact that another factory has an issue on an order that you need to go find out the shipping information on versus getting just bewildered with a lot of noise from the 2 or 3 factories that you just can't seem to get an answer on a couple of orders there, okay? So these work the same. I don't really want to dig into the super details on what identifies as an unscheduled order, other than say it's an order that's at least 2 days old without a schedule by default. Unshipped orders, basically it's schedule date was in the past and it should have shipped and didn't. And missed shipping date, the orders was redated and it was the new date is more than 2 days by default from the original schedule date. And that, even if it's shipped, becomes a missed shipping date, which could be a conversation with a customer. So if you know what I'm talking about there, good. And I'll show you some examples anyway. All right. Last one. Again, the last ones are always the most interesting, I think. The bad schedule and bad ship dates. We've actually had the following happen, and this is a fairly new add to this tile. We had a case where a shipping update came in automatically on an order for a canceled item. They shipped something that was canceled. That was no fun. But what we're trying to do with this tile is it's going to scan for bad schedules and ship dates. So it's a bad ship date as well. In that case, it would have caught it because the schedule would have come in and said, hey, we're going to schedule to ship this, albeit canceled item inside of Oasis. And then you would get notified through this tile. It says, hey, you need to go take a look at it and find out what's going on because they're about to ship something that's been canceled. So again, a pretty powerful little tool right there. And I'll show you an example of that here in a second. All right. Any big questions, Trinity, before I shift gears here?
Yeah, we did have one.
Okay.
Someone asked if tiles work in Legacy.
Not these. So that's one of the issues we're crashing into. What we've done with Legacy is kind of tapped out the ability to do these more advanced things. There's a lot of processing power we throw behind all this, and just being able to manage the nuance of how these things works. It's just not possible for us to support that on Legacy as well. So yeah, you have to have O4 for these tiles. Sorry, it's just the limitations there. All right. Any other questions?
That's it so far.
Okay. All right. Restricting which orders to scan. We're already limited to open orders. Again, the canceled, obviously, with that last one has a bit of an override on it. So basically, it's anything that's been updated. And then orders with shipping updates. Basically, that's how our loophole goes through there. But basically, if it's been updated somehow, in this case by a shipping update, then we're going to pull it in as well. We do have the ability to do filters, and I'll switch back for a second. So our filters for CSRs, again, we see kind of the same thing here. Some customer service teams, you end up with that one power user in there, at least wants to test and get it figured out before they roll it out to the rest of the team. That's really one of the reasons why we have this here. And again, the work groups, again, the different offices we have is important as well, because some of your reps have really gotten big over the years. All right, and then we put in quoters. Not even sure why, I'll be totally honest, because I think quoters, for the most part, probably won't care. But if you did want to filter down by a quoter, you could do that. That's all the filters we put in so far. I haven't had any requests on this one yet. Again, part of the reason why we keep stuff on beta is we want to introduce something, get people to use it, kick the tires, if we will, and then tell us, oh, you really need to add X or Y. And usually that comes out in conversations like this and training, and then people just trying to implement it one way or another. Okay. All right, that is the details. So again, like I did last time, I'll show you a little bit. I'll show you most of what's in the app on the rest of this. So again, it's going to show total order scans, orders with warnings, orders with critical issues review. And again, the warnings versus critical issues is arbitrary. We kind of picked that. But again, a discontinued item, that's probably critical. We picked it that way. A pricing change is probably just a warning because it's most likely noise. But again, you need to check it and see what's going on there. Okay. All right, detail tab. So we'll go through all the details here and kind of show the layout, but generally there's a summary, there's an issue detail. I'll show you what that looks like. And again, the email sent like we had before. Okay. So let's click into order monitor tile. And we don't have the tabs at the top with the different monitors in there, the data sources, because there's so many of them. It was just too much. So those are removed. And what happens is when you click into one of these, it puts a little, detail tab here. So, you can pull right back. It's just kind of a navigation thing. Again, each one of those monitors could end up with other items in here, especially as we receive feedback and add things. So you might see other things pop in here than what I show here is what I'm trying to hint at. Okay. And then there's the email sent. And I've already covered that last time. Again, it's the same thing. My test database here has some examples, of me testing basically. All right. Or preparing for this actually. So bad schedule date. So here's a good example of a bad, I think this is the last one I want to show. Yep. So actually, we're going to start with the last one. I was going to say this one for the last. Oh, well, we'll do it first. So this is an example of of an order that has two lines on it. One line is on hold. Another line is canceled. Actually, I think it's a 3-line order. Let me see real quick. Items. Oh, okay. Yeah. So basically, I have a released item that I'd like to have. I have a hold item, and I have a canceled item. So there you go. And guess what happened? They actually did the following. They have shipping updates on for the item on hold. They scheduled it, and they have shipping updates on the canceled item. You might want to know about that. So anyway, we'll go back in there and let me go forward again. And it looks like they're going to ship them next. Going to ship one of them today. Cool. The canceled item. Yeah, great. Cool. All right. So that's exactly what this monitor will do is it'll scan, and if you're getting automated updates, it'll process that without anybody looking at it, send you that email if you want to have that little checkbox says, hey, that canceled item, or in this case also a hold item, they're going to ship them, and then you can figure out what you want to do about that. So okay, go back to the summary here. Bad price. Bad price on this one is, again, the same thing. Again, this is a hold order, and this particular item is the same $20 if memory serves. Let me take a look at that. I think it's, yeah, I went to $19 is what happened on that one. So I can't sell it below $20 per the new update. Again, it's trying to show that there's a price increase on that item I have on hold. Okay. All right, discontinued item, same thing here. We have the hold discontinued item, and it has the same verbiage as on the quote. So not a whole lot of difference other than the fact we're dealing with a hold order versus a quote, but the same problem. Okay. All right, and hold order reminder. This is just saying, hey, it's been 7 days. No, I'm sorry, it's been a while on this one, but it's been more than 7 days. And really the thought process there is, at least for right now, we're just testing the 7-day item. Might give some feedback to Trinity or myself on this one because we've been trying to think through some of the other scenarios to maybe give it a little bit longer window or after an update. And there's actually something that'll solve this long term, but anyway, we're trying to come up with things in the short run. Okay, and hold required on site. So again, for right now we're using this whole required on site date. So we have the where's that thing on here? Today's status. I'm not sure whether you put that on that one, so I won't go into orders on this one. But but we're within 3 days of the required on site on that hold order, and we're using that right now. Hint, or actually some advanced information. One of the dates we're adding, and this will probably come into both legacy and 04 both, but on the order we're going to add a next release date. And really the thought process is to give you, unlike our short-term required on-site usage here, we give you a place to put in a date that says, hey, we expect the next release to be on this date. And again, it's for this tile and reporting, just to give you that capability of tracking when you need to go back and find out what's going on. Because if you expect that release to happen again at the end of the month or whenever is required by the customer or contractor, whoever's holding up that order, that's your date, and that will trigger this process to send you an email and say, hey, go ask somebody about it. Okay. All right. Missed shipping date item. Again, if you know what missed shipping dates are on this one, but the scheduled date was previously scheduled for October 6th on this one. We pushed out to the 10th today. And that was a schedule, by the way. So we'll see if they redate it again today. But the main thing here is on these missed shipping dates, if you have a factory that's redating an order, you may have a conversation or need to have a conversation with the factory to find out what the real date is and get back with the customer and find out what needs to happen there. But anyway, it gives you that visibility where normally it just you don't have it. So there you go. All right, and well, you do have it in Legacy and even 04 on the little blue links, but we wanted to add this to this tile and also give you the capability of getting an email on those. All right, not transmitted. Again, we're big believers in actually having orders that are transmitted or sent to the factory. We don't like them in this in-between state because we don't know what's happening here. We don't know what the intent is. So they're really meant to, not sending an order to the factory is usually meant to be a memory jog or only done when you don't have all the information to complete that send. But you can print internal. If you're not familiar with that, contact support, but you can open up the order, print internal. That takes away this non-transmitted thing. And then Oasis is happy, if you will, and it allows everything else in the system to work properly. Okay. And then unshipped item, again, this is just trying to identify unshipped items so you can process them. It's just another way of providing a list that you can run through. identify all the unshipped items and get shipping updates, find out what's going on, work with the customer or the manufacturer, and then update Oasis with the shipping information. So there you go. All right. I think that goes through the tiles. Do I have any more questions, Trinity?
No, no more questions so far.
I bored them to death. All right. That's the end, pretty much. Questions on this? Give you a couple minutes more as I read through the rest of this. Next month, we'll discuss over orders. As you saw just a moment ago, there's a lot more going on in orders. It's technically in beta right now. We'll probably keep it in beta for at least 6 months. That's just kind of our MO around here to get feedback, get people in there testing it, because it isn't we try not to miss things. There's a lot of work happening here, but when y'all get in there, you test in ways we never even thought of. So it needs baptism by fire, basically, sometimes. But anyway, it's in beta. We're going to give you a little bit of overview on that next month. In December, we'll have some more interesting tiles. So basically, it's another projects tile that have been asked for a long time, and another orders tile the users been asking for a long time. Both of those will be introduced in December, and I'll show you the details and everything there is about that. So, all right. If there are no questions, I do appreciate your time. Send us notes, comments, questions, and we'll talk to you next month. Thank you.